Hey everybody, I'm JJ. You're watching Reality Survival. And so today we're going to talk about some ways to prepare for bioterrorism, anthrax, plague, those kinds of things. Up until now, the prepper community has kind of been, in a position where you might stock up on stuff like this for your fish aquarium tanks, or your birds, treat your birds, or, fish flocks, or whatever the case may be, fish pen forte, all this other kind of fish and bird antibiotics, because there weren't any doctors out there who really understood the need in the disaster preparedness community to be able to have a supply of antibiotics already at your house that you could use following, doctors prescribed orders and from the correct manufacturers in the right dosages, making sure that you've had a health screening so that it's capable to do and all that kind of stuff. But now they have a remedy for that, and that is from Jase Medical. Now, Jase Medical is based out of Utah, I believe, and they work with a pharmacy out of Utah who will prescribe each person in your family one of these kits that has a variety of different antibiotics in it that comes from a legal pharmacy in Utah. So let me pull this out here. I'll just go through what we've got, and then I'm going to talk a little bit about the emergency antibiotic guide that they send with the kit to show you how to use it and what to use it for and all that kind of stuff. So these are prescribed, like I said, out of Midvale, Utah, from Hillcrest Pharmacy, and the doctor is Mark Sirota. Okay. Now, if you decide that you want to get this, I think this is an awesome thing to have on hand because it fills a critical void in most people's preparedness. Like I said, for a long time, people use the fish stuff and the bird stuff and all that kind of stuff. And yes, I understand that, if it's the right stuff, if it's purchased in the right quantities, at the right amounts and all that kind of stuff, that it could be the same thing. Okay, I've talked about this in videos in the past. I get that. But wouldn't it be better to have it prescribed from an actual doctor, from a legitimate pharmacy, and all that kind of stuff? I just feel way more comfortable recommending something like this than recommending something like that, because I just feel like it's way more legitimate, And so anyway, let me go through this kit here, and then we'll continue to break this down a little bit more. So you've got 5 different medicines that are prescribed here. You've got the first one in this box here is azithromycin, 250 milligram tablet, also known as Zithromax. And let's see, it says here that you take 2 tablets by mouth on day 1, then 1 tablet daily on days 2 through 5. So 6 tablets altogether. And you can get these kits renewed for each person in your family every year. And they have an online system set up so that you can do that. And it's super, super easy to use. Okay, so the next one here is doxycycline hyclate, 100 milligrams. And you take 1 tablet. Take 1 tablet by mouth twice daily for 60 days. 120 of those. Next thing that you get here is metronidazole, 500 milligram tablet. Take 1 tablet by mouth 3 times daily for 10 days. Do not use alcohol with this medication. Okay. Then we've got amoxicillin, and you take 1 tablet by mouth twice daily for 14 days. And then you have, what's the last one? Ciprofloxacin, HCl, 500 milligrams. Take 1 tablet by mouth twice daily for 14 days. Okay, so that's what comes in the bag. Is you get those medicines, and then you get the emergency guide. Now this is probably just as valuable almost as the medicines and everything there, because it's got a lot of great information in here about it. And what I wanted to talk about mostly here is, and it breaks it down in different ways. It's got contents by drug, contents by condition, and yeah, so let's do the contents. Let's look at the contents by condition. No, by drug. Okay, so the amoxicillin can be used to treat bite wounds, both animal or human, pneumonia, and that's in combination with azithromycin or doxycycline, and sinusitis. And then the azithromycin can be used to treat pneumonia, urinary tract infection, or traveler's diarrhea. Ciprofloxacin can be used to treat anthrax exposure and infection from bioterrorism incidents, plague exposure and infection from bioterrorism incidents, traveler's diarrhea, or tularemia from bioterror incidents. And let's see, then the doxycycline can be used to treat anthrax, again, can be used in bioterrorism, bites, both animal and human, plague, bioterror, skin infections, tetanus, and tularemia. Metronidazole can be used to fight bacterial vaginosis, diarrhea caused by Giardia and Clostridioides difficile, Giardias, and tetanus, and trichomoniasis, I guess. All right, so that's a lot of different stuff. That's a lot of different stuff that these things can treat. Then if you go into the contents by condition, you can take a look at each different kind of breakdown, on the thing. So let me find one that would be kind of interesting to this video here. Let's say ciprofloxacin. Okay, so it starts out with some cautions, gives you some cautions there. Talks about, if you're pregnant or breastfeeding, has a few other notes in there, and then it goes into the breakdown of different diseases and how to use it. So, anthrax. It says bioterrorism exposure, consult local health officials in the event of specific recommendations. Inhalation anthrax results from the inhalation of B. anthracaceous spore containing particles. The incubation period for inhalation anthrax is estimated to be 1 to 7 days. However, there are reports that show it may be as long as 43 days. 2001, there was a bioterror event with 4 to 6 days elapsing from exposure to symptom onset. It's imperative that the treatment be started if there is a chance of true exposure, because within days after symptoms appear, if it's left untreated, inhalation anthrax disease is nearly 100% fatal. For post-exposure prophylaxis, take 1 tablet by mouth twice per day for 60 days. So that's what it's given in here. So for the plague, it says for post-exposure prophylaxis, take 1 tablet by mouth twice per day for at least 14 days until 2 days have passed without fever. For traveler's diarrhea, it says here there's many possible causes of diarrhea, such as parasitic, viral, bacterial sources of infection. Traveler's diarrhea is defined as diarrhea that develops in individuals from resource-rich setting during or within 10 days of returning from resource-limited region. In these regions, bacterial causes are the most common. Most episodes of traveler's diarrhea are self-limited and not often severe. However, the accompanying dehydration can complicate the illness and pose more dangerous health hazard than the diarrhea itself. And they say take 1 tablet by mouth twice per day for 3 days. And that's with the azithromycin. So here's the thing. All these things that are in this kit, the doctor, what was his name again? Mark Sirota, took a look at what would be the most likely kinds of antibiotics that we would need in a situation where you didn't have access to health care. Maybe there was a breakdown in the rule of law, and water, wasn't as good, and all that kind of stuff. And then in the event of bioterrorism events, what would be the best things to have on hand for people to be able to pre-treat themselves in case there was an exposure and they weren't able to get to medical services, or medical services were overloaded, or something along those lines. And so he came up with these 5 as covering the most likely kinds of things that you might need. And I tell you, after all the stuff that's gone on over the past couple of years with the COVID, and whether or not this was intentional release or if it was accidental from the lab or if whatever, I don't have any idea. I think it was most likely an accidental thing. But does it really seem very far out of the realm of reality that we could see other similar types of health-related instances in the future? Whether or not that be an intentional bioattack or accidents or just natural development of different things, it seems like it would be a good idea to be prepared to me. And so that's why I've added this kit. I bought this kit on my own, paid for it with our own money, $250 I think it was. And then I contacted the company and said, hey, I think this is an awesome product. I would like to be an affiliate with you guys. So I set up an affiliate relationship with them, and then they sent us out a second kit for my wife. So we're probably going to end up getting a couple more kits because it just makes sense. And these things, if you store them properly and you keep them in a cool, dry place and all that, they're going to last for multiple years. He talks a little bit about that in this. I've also had a video on this in the past, and they're going to last for several years overall. But you can get a new kit each year. And so you could have you can build up a nice little stock of these things over the years and for the different family members that you have. Now let me tell you a little bit about the process of going through getting it. He has a website where you go on, you have to show your ID, you have to, take a picture of your ID or whatever and put it in there, put your name, and then he asks you some general questions, like do you have a doctor? He didn't ask who your doctor is, or their contact information or anything like that. And then have you seen them in the last couple of years? And then you answer that. And then are you allergic to any medicines? Just kind of some basic health stuff. And then you submit it, you push your payment, and then a few days later, your stuff shows up. And it's pretty cool. So, and it's very easy to use, even if you're somebody who, doesn't like using the medical system all that much or whatever the case may be. There's really no burden of proof on anything as far as that goes. I'm not recommending that you break the law or anything like that, but the questions are, you're just answering the questions from the doctor, so it's not, anyway. So I think this is a pretty cool deal. This could be used for even a wider variety of things that are even listed in this. If you get Doc Bones and Nurse Amy, they put out a book. I'll try to throw it in here so you guys can see a picture of it, and it's kind of a full guide on using antibiotics in an SHTF kind of situation. And it's got tons of information in there about how all these different medicines can be used for different things. So the combination of those two things, I think, is a critical piece of first aid that preppers should consider to have in their supplies. The blowout kits and that kind of thing are initial treatment for grievous bodily injuries and that kind of stuff. Then you've got the aftercare, the wound care, like the wound care bucket from Refuge Medical. And then you have, bacterial infections and those kind of things. And that's what the antibiotics is going to cover. And those are probably the deaths from infections and that kind of thing are probably going to cause just as many deaths as bullet wounds and all that kind of stuff. I know that we like to think that the bullet wounds and all that kind of stuff is all the big hoo-yah stuff that everybody talks about and whatnot, but you'll probably see, and I did a video on this one time talking about like the 17 most likely things to kill you, an SHTF or something like that, and talked about the real things that kill millions of people every year, even to this day. And without antibiotics, you're going to have a harder time fighting those things off. And so I think this is a great step in the right direction. I think it'd be cool if they could, increase this to some other anti-infection kind of stuff for fungal and antivirals and all that kind of stuff. That would be really awesome. But for now, this is where they started, is with the antibiotics, and I think it's just absolutely fabulous. So if you guys want to help out the channel, then you can click the link in the description below, and that'll send us a few bucks our way whenever you purchase these things. And I'll definitely appreciate it, and I know that you're going to appreciate it too, because it's a really good peace of mind to know that you have some tools in your toolbox to be able to treat a wide variety of things on your own without having to go to a doctor if there were no medical services available. So anyway, guys, think about it seriously, and links in the description. Take care, and we'll see you on another video here shortly.